Hey, it's Aloon here, welcoming you to the first episode of new YouTube series and podcast series Warcraft in Minutes. Today we're going to be talking about the old gods pre-World of Warcraft, so hopefully this is going to catch you up on all the lore that happened before the current iteration of the World of Warcraft game, relating to old gods. So we're just going to cover key points, and as the name says, Warcraft in Minutes, we're going to try and do it pretty quickly. If you've got any questions, obviously you can comment or contact me, and I may look at releasing some longer podcasts in the future which will dive into things in more detail. So coming up to our first minute, let's start. So right back at the start, when the universe started, the Void Lords saw that the universe was starting. They were envious of the pantheon of Titans, and so they decided to try and turn the whole of reality into chaos. So what they did is they pulled their power together. They created the old gods, with the aim to corrupt any further Titans that the pantheon may find before they awaken. So when a Titan is born, it starts off as a world soul within a planet, and then it will sort of awaken from that planet and become a Titan. So the aim of the old gods would be to stop that happening and corrupt Titans before they could actually awaken. So the old gods, just like the Titans, had no idea which planets contained Titan world souls. So basically, they were just hurled out into the great dark beyond by the Void Lords who created them, with the hope that some of them would collide with planets containing Titans. So the old gods basically start hitting planets. They start contaminating mortal worlds in their search for the world souls. We don't know how many old gods are out there. We're just aware of the ones on Azeroth as of current lore. So the old gods are creatures of pure void. They're created by the Void Lords, and as such they've got direct control over all void magics. So you can see their followers using a lot of shadow magic. Shadow Priest artifact dagger in game was actually used by these Shadow Priests during the reign of the Black Empire. So let's talk about that. The Black Empire. So this is way back, sort of primordial Azeroth. The old gods land on Azeroth. They basically just fly in, crash into the planet. 4 of them crash into the planet. You've got Seathun, Yogg-Saron, Enzoth, and Yashaj. They embed themselves in various locations across the world and start sending their tendrils down through the earth towards the sleeping world soul inside. 2 races are born from the organic matter that seeps out of the old gods now embedded in the planet. You've got the Enraki, the Faceless Ones, and also the Akir. These servants build up giant citadels and temple cities around the old gods, around their bodies, and the old gods' holdings eventually spread across the whole of Azeroth, or more or less creating the Black Empire. Now, the old gods enslaved the elemental lords of Azeroth who were already there, so your big elemental lords like Ragnaros, and they all get enslaved, allowing the old gods to take full control of the planet. The enslaved elementals start waging war on each other, which starts completely ravaging the face of the planet, basically. Meanwhile, the old gods have a little bit of infighting as well. The servants of Enzoth start waging war against the combined forces of Seathun and Yogg-Saron. Yashaj isn't really concerned with this. That's kind of the largest old god in the center of the map. So while travelling the cosmos looking for world souls, the Titans come across Azeroth, encounter the elementals who immediately try and drive them away from the planet. The Titans discover that they are basically under the control of the old gods, and they wage war on the old gods. Now, the Titans are huge creatures, much, much bigger than Azeroth, so they're concerned that they would damage the world soul by attacking it directly, and they create the Titan Forge, who are basically servants who would be used down on the planet's surface to wage war against the enslaved elementals. And the other old god servants, they successfully fight the elementals, lock them away in the elemental plane, and the Titan Forge move on to assault the citadel containing Yashaj. The Pantheon are concerned that they're not strong enough to take down Yashaj because it's such a powerful old god. And basically Aman'Thul, who is the High Father of the Titan Pantheon, reaches down through the sky of Azeroth, plucks Yashaj straight out of the planet's surface, basically. Now, Ishaj was burrowed pretty deep into the surface, and removing it causes a big wound in the surface of Azeroth. So the lifeblood of the planet rushes up to the surface and forms the Well of Eternity, which is something that we'll cover in a further video. Now, the Titanforge continue their campaign against the remaining Old Gods. Eventually they manage to lock them all away below the surface of the world, giving us the world that we see today. So, though they were imprisoned, their influence still seeps out to the surface, a little bit, albeit not as powerful as before. The Titanforge begin to succumb to something called the Curse of Flesh, which makes them mortal. So that's where they start becoming the Earth, and they start becoming mechagnomes, become fleshy gnomes, that kind of thing. The Vrykul start becoming human and less powerful. So this subverts all the races, leaving them in this weird balance between the Titans order that they were originally born with, and the chaotic nature of the Old Gods. So next up, the Titans create the dragon aspects to watch over the world for them and depart. So they know that the world is sort of in a state of corruption, but in order to contain it and hope that the world soul within Azeroth still awakens, they create the dragon aspects. Unfortunately, of these aspects, one of them, Neltharion, who was charged with watching over the earth and the deep places, because of his connection to the earth, he is really susceptible to whispers from Yogg-Saron, who is also sort of burrowed in the earth, and the other Old Gods. So he starts sort of becoming corrupted in the background at this point. It takes tens of thousands of years for this to happen. Now, the next part of the timeline doesn't directly relate to the Old Gods, however it is an important point to note in their history. The War of the Ancients. So this is where Queen Ashara, who was a highborn, was like the most powerful elf ever known. She was trying to use the Well of Eternity to open a portal to bring Sagaras to Azeroth. He basically contacted her through the Well of Eternity, and has identified this as a source of power that could potentially create a portal to bring him to Azeroth. Now, he wants to get there for similar reasons to the Old Gods, I guess. He wants to destroy the World Soul because he believes it to be corrupted. So now Neltharion basically sees this happening. The dragon aspects meet, and Neltharion convinces the others to imbue this golden disc with part of their power under the guise of using it to stop Ashara. And they create an artifact called the Dragon Soul. Now, the Old Gods had a plan where Neltharion would then use this Dragon Soul to divert the power of the portal that Ashara is creating and use it to crack open Azeroth and free them. Unfortunately for them, that plan is foiled by the Stormrage brothers, Illidian and Malfurion, so they basically steal the Dragon Soul from Neltharion, and then they use it to close the portal, unknowingly stopping the Old Gods from breaking free. 10,000 years on from that, the Old Gods invade the Time Ways, looked after by Nozdormu, the bronze aspect, dragon aspect of time, and they create a rift which throws various things back in time to the War of the Ancients to try and change the outcome. However, this is also a plan that gets stopped by Nozdormu, who basically sends back various heroes to play a part in the War of the Ancients, help Malfurion and Illidan be successful against stopping Ashara. So that brings us up to Old God activity, more or less, to World of Warcraft, at least known Old God activity. I mean, there are obviously theories around how the Old Gods could play a part in certain aspects of the Lich King, various other storylines in the world. But for today, we're just going to cover this sort of bringing us up to current history, and then in a further episode, we're going to cover how the Old Gods have acted within the World of Warcraft game and expansions. So we'll cover Seathun, we'll cover Yogg-Saron, we'll cover the Heart of Ishaj, we'll cover all that, and also potentially do some speculating on the next expansion, which is said to apparently be Old God themed in a way. But again, we will discuss that in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you will look out for more. You can find us on YouTube or on the podcast. So Thank you very much for listening.